I've recently seen other creators playing around with the Goblin Hobbies Stampin' Kit. It's supposed to be an easy way of getting your iconographies onto your miniatures without having to use transfer sheets or freehand painting. And since I'm not much of a transfer sheet guy, I thought this stamper system seemed like a pretty cool alternative solution to that. The one problem I can foresee though is that $200 is a decent chunk of change for the all-in starter kit, and probably out of a lot of people's price range. So I wanted to see if there were any other cheaper options out there. My search brought me to good old Amazon, where I found something that looks like it might be fairly comparable, but for a fraction of the cost. So let's take a look together and see how this $20 generic Amazon nail kit stacks up against the behemoth that is the $200 Goblin Hobbies all-in Stampin' starter kit. Hello and welcome back to Getting Handsy. To begin our comparison, let's first take a look at what comes in each package, starting with the Goblin Hobbies all-in Stampin' starter kit. This kit is listed at $189 plus shipping and can be bought at Goblin Hobbies website. The initial box in the all-in package is the Stampin' starter kit, which you can purchase separately for $50. The starter kit includes two 10ml bottles of stamping colors, a scraper card, a double-ended stamper, and two wargaming or miniature-specific metal plates with iconographies on them. From there, the all-in kit adds 4 more bottles of Stampin' colors for a total of 6 different colors, an extra larger rectangular stamper, another scraper card, and 8 more of the metal plates for a total of 10 unique stamper plates. Now the challenger is the Beauty Nail Stamper Kit for $20.79. It was $19.49 when I bought it just a little bit ago though. It is a single small box and comes with 8 8ml squeeze tubes of gel stamping nail polish, a large stamper, a scraper, 15 metal stamping plates that contain assorted designs, which probably are not very suitable for normal wargaming miniatures, but who knows, and a carrying case for all the plates. Now the biggest difference right off the bat are the plates, and that was always going to be the case. The Goblin Hobbies kit is specifically designed for wargaming miniatures, so it makes sense that the designs would be themed for that use, and the nail polish kit wouldn't have the same options. That being said, there are, at the very least, some that would make some interesting chapter markings or patterns, even if you can't use most of them for regular use. Size-wise, the Goblin Hobby plates are basically double the size of the Amazon kit, so while there are 15 plates in the Amazon kit, it ends up being basically 7.5 at the size of the Goblin Hobby ones. Paint, polish, color, etc. The Goblin Hobbies kit comes with 6 different colors: white, black, light gray, red, blue, and yellow of quick-drying stamping paint. The Amazon kit comes with 8 colors: white, black, pink, blue, yellow, green, red, and orange. And these are stamping gels, so they're almost a resin and has a much longer, if not indefinite, drying time. You actually have to cure these with UV light to solidify them. This means we have to add a little bit more to the price of our kit though. So I have a UV flashlight for my resin 3D printing stuff. That's what I used. It's this rechargeable one for $26. There are plenty of other UV nail curing device options though, so you can find something cheaper than the one I have if you want, such as this one for $8. For cleanup, both kits require 100% acetone to clean up their paints, and neither kit includes that. I found this $10 bottle on Amazon that seemed to work pretty well when I was using it. Now the acetone is only supposed to be used to clean off the plates. For the stampers, they recommend some sort of tape. I have some just clear packing tape, and that seemed to work pretty well for me. You can find that all over Amazon. And going back to the acetone for just a second, this is kind of just a little warning. I didn't really think about it, but the acetone on this like rubber cutting mat that I have, it will completely take off like the colors and stuff that are on there, so just be careful, I guess. Lots of paper towels were also a must for me at least, because I had no idea what I was doing and it was just really messy. So then how do they work? Well, let me show you. Now, I read through the instructions for both kits and then I jumped right in. They were both essentially the same. Put paint on the plate, scrape the excess paint off, collect the design on the stamper, stamper onto whatever you want the design on. The biggest differences were that the Goblin Hobbies ones require speed throughout the process, while the Amazon gels could be at whatever pace you wanted, you just had to do that final curing step at the end. And this is where I started to run into problems with the Goblin Hobbies kit. When they say quick drying, it is so quick. I felt like there was no time at all to put the paint down, scrape off the excess, and then pick it up with the stamper. It was so frustrating trying to make it work. After failing a number of times in a row to even pick up the paint on the stamper, I went and rewatched the tutorial video on their website. The video made it seem so simple, but I could just not get it to work for the life of me. I didn't really see any differences to what they were doing and what I was doing, so I just kept trying. I think it must just be getting the timing down and maybe how much paint you scrape off. In the end, I think I only got one full symbol to even look close to correct, and I have no idea how I did it, and I was unable to recreate it. Because I was having such a hard time trying to make that work, I just swapped to the Amazon one to see if it was at least better. And I immediately noticed a difference. The non-drying stamping gel was just so much easier to work with. I was able to get it from the plate to the stamper on the first try, even though I may have picked the worst color to start with. I went back and forth between the two kits, just trying to kind of practice, seeing if I could get some consistent symbols, but I just had a really hard time with the Goblin Hobby one, while the Amazon one seemed to be much easier. The only real problem I had with the Amazon one was just, I think, a technique thing, where I would get the design on the stamper, but I'd also have a lot of extra junk, and I just didn't have a really good way of getting rid of it. So a lot of my early stamps on that had some fuzzy gunk around the edges where I tried to wipe it off, but didn't do a very good job. But I think that would, you could fix that with just, like I said, better technique fixing stuff on the front end. Future handsy here. While I was editing this video, I actually had an epiphany on how to make the Goblin Hobby one work better. I was rewatching my videos and noticed that when I scrape off the paint, I scrape with kind of like an upward motion, which I think might take off too much paint. I rewatched the Goblin Hobby tutorial video, and he kind of pushes the paint down, which just seems to work better, I guess. Once I saw this and tried it myself, it seemed to work a lot better for me. I don't think this really changes my initial opinions of it. It was still very frustrating, but now that I've gotten a better grasp of it, I don't think it's as bad as I initially thought. Back to the past. Like I said earlier, the only other big difference between the Goblin Hobby paints and then the stamping gel is that the stamping gel has to be cured with UV light, which was pretty simple. I just ran the UV flashlight over it for about 10 seconds. It wasn't very long and didn't take much. Just an extra step. Next, the stampers were fairly comparable. The Goblin Hobbies one was just a bit smaller than the nail one, which was actually very helpful. The nail one was just too big, and I think it would be very difficult to use on an actual small miniature where you've got some fiddly bits around where you want to put the design on. Besides the size, though, I think they're basically the same thing. They've got a plastic little case and then some gel stamper stuffs inside. Now, I did find some smaller double-ended stampers on Amazon as well that seem to be basically the exact same size as the Goblin Hobbies ones. So if you need some replacements or an alternative, there are options. So overall, I think my thoughts are kind of mixed on both of them. I like different things about each of the sets, both Goblin Hobbies and the generic Amazon one. If I were to do it again, I think the only thing I can't get on Amazon basically are the plates with those specific designs on them. So maybe I'd go buy the Amazon $20 box, but then go buy some select plates from Goblin Hobbies of the designs that I want. Unless there's some drastic difference in quality, which I haven't been able to figure out, or haven't seen yet, I suppose. I just can't rationalize how much more expensive that pack is compared to just the generic stuff. That being said, if you like the designs on the Goblin Hobby plates, you kind of have to get them then. And they are the most expensive part of that kit. They're $16 per plate, so it's already $160 just if you want all 10 plates. That does lead me to kind of a fun little side note that I got to play around with, though. So I wanted to know if I could design my own little plates and 3D print them. So I took some measurements of both the plates that I have from Goblin Hobbies and the Amazon one, and just kind of got some basic dimensions, and then threw them into Blender just to try and see what I could come up with. I figured the easiest thing I could do just as a proof of concept would be an alphabet, because you can do text pretty easily in Blender. So I made my little plate and then put 3 different alphabet sets on it with a couple different, 3 different depths. And I started with 0.1 millimeters, which is the smallest I believe my FDM printer can print, and my resin printer would be able to do whatever. I then printed 1 resin and 1 FDM filament version to test out, and it actually worked pretty well. The 0.1 version was more than enough depth. Actually, if it got more than that, the paint started to stick at the bottom, so 0.1 was, more than enough. The FDM filament one I don't think worked as well as the resin, probably because I don't have very good settings on my FDM, but so maybe yours are better than mine, but I would recommend the resin just because I thought it worked much better. I was able to get nice, clean, letters and numbers out of this, and it was really easy to work with, so. My only concern is maybe over time the acetone might eat into the resin. I'm not sure. I don't know the chemistry and stuff of that, but it was able to be cleaned currently, so that's just something to think about in the future. But if that does happen, just print a new one. So in conclusion, I think it really comes down to what you're looking for, how much you want to spend, and just how much time you want to invest in it. If you think you can get good and quick and are okay with just 6 colors, get the Goblin Hobby Stampin' colors. If you want a little bit more wiggle room, more cheaper color options, and are okay with the extra curing step, then go pick up some stamping gel polishes and a UV light. If you really like the designs on the Goblin Hobby plates, go pick up a couple or all of them. If you, a family member, significant other, friend, etc. just like fancy nails, or maybe you just want to make a very specific themed army like Santa's Space Marines or something, go pick up some, Amazon nail plates. Or if you have a 3D printer or know someone who can print stuff for you, go make some of your own custom designs to stamp. If it was me, I'd probably do a combination and get the cheaper Amazon stampers and the gel polish, and then pick individual plate designs from Goblin Hobbies that suited my needs, or just go make my own. In the end, whatever you choose, just go make some cool miniatures. Who cares? So what are your thoughts on all of this? Are these something you would buy? Or are you already using them or something like them? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you liked this video and want to see more of them, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, etc. Thanks for watching.